Good day, everyone. I am Charles T. Galang, the team leader of the Group 2, together with my members, Rubilin Calara, Lizelle Ducut, Catherine Sunga, Akim Bautista, and Harold Yumul. And our topic is about the methods of data collection. Introduction. Various methods of collecting data are employed by social scientists. Here, we will discuss the varied dimensions relevant to the data generation and attempt to arrive to an abstract typology involving stimuli, responses, and setting for data collection. The task of data collection begins after a research problem has been defined and research design plan chalked out. There are two types of data. First is the primary data are those which are collected afresh and for the first time, and thus happen to be original in character and known as primary data. The second one is the secondary data are those which have been collected by someone else and which have already been passed through the statistical process are known as secondary data. The next one, collection of primary data. There are several methods of collecting primary data, particularly in surveys and descriptive researches. In descriptive research, we obtain primary data either through observation or through direct communication with respondents in one form or another or through personal interviews. Moving on, there is also collection of secondary data. First, these are already available. Example, they refer to the data which have already been collected and analyzed by someone else. The second one is secondary data may either be published or unpublished data. Researcher must be very careful in using secondary data because the data available may be sometimes unsuitable. Methods of data collection. Primary data. Number 1, observation method. Observation method is a method under which data from the field is collected with the help of observation by the observer or by personally going to the field. The next one is, in the words of P.V. Young, observation may be defined as systematic viewing coupled with the consideration on scene phenomenon. And there are advantages and disadvantages. Advantages first, subjective bias eliminated, means no bias info. Information researcher gets is current information. Next, independent to respondent variable as in interview and may be biased. And these are some disadvantages. It is expensive method, means time requires more. You need a lot of time. Next one is limited information. Unforeseen factors may interfere with observation tasks. Respondent's opinion cannot be recorded on certain subject. And the last one is types of observation. Structured and unstructured observation. When observation is done by characterizing style of recording, the observed information standardized, conditions of observation, definition of the units to be observed, selection of pertinent data of observation, then it is structured observation. When observation is done without any thought before observation, then it is unstructured observation. And that's all for my report. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I'm Lizelle Ducut and I'm going to continue the report of Group 2. And now, let's proceed to participant and non-participant observation. When the observer is a member of the group, which is observing then, it is called participant observation. Then in participant observation, researcher can record natural behavior of group. Researcher can also verify the truth of statement given by informants in the context of questionnaire. so difficult to collect information can obtain through this method, but in this researcher may lose objectivity of research due to emotional feelings. Problem of control in the observation is not solved. So, non-participant observation. When we are talking about non-participant observation, it is observer observing itself without giving any information to them. That is non-participant observation. Next one is controlled and uncontrolled observation. When the observation takes place in natural conduction or condition rather, example, uncontrolled observation, it is done to get spontaneous pictures of life and persons. When observation takes place and according to definite pre-arranged plans with experimental procedure, then it is controlled observation. It is generally done in the laboratory under controlled condition. Next one is interview method. So, interview method is a method of collecting data, involves presentation or oral verbal stimuli, and it is reply in a terms of oral verbal responses. So, next one, interview method. This is a oral verbal communication wherein the interviewer asks questions, for example, which are aimed to get information required for study to respondent. So there are different type of interviews as follows. First one is personal interviews. So the interviewer asks questions generally in a face-to-face contact to the other persons or person. Next one is the types of personal interview. So we have here the two types of personal interview. First one is personal interview and second one is standard interview. Let's proceed to the first one, which is personal interview. So in here, we need to predetermine question. Next is standardized techniques of recording. Next, interviewer follows rigid procedure laid down. For example, asking question in a form of order prescribed. Next, time required for such interview is less than non-structured interview. Next, not necessary of skill or specific knowledge. Let's proceed to the second one, which is structured interviews. So in here, first is flexibility in asking questions, no predetermined question, no standardized techniques of recording. Interviewer has freedom to ask, omit, add question in any manner, ask question without following sequence, and last, deep knowledge and skill. Let's proceed to the merits of personal interview. So, in here, information at greater depth and flexibility of restructuring the questionnaire. Interviewer by his skill can come over resistance. Non-response generally low. Samples can controlled more effectively. Last one is personal information can be obtained. And next po is interviewer can collect supplementary information about respondent personal characteristics and environment, which has value in interpreting result. That's all for my report po, to be continued by next reporter. Thank you.
So, hi, my name is Rubilin Calera, and I am the third reporter for this group. So, let's move on to the demerits or the weaknesses of interview. First is interview is a expensive method. Next is respondents may give a biased opinion. Next is some exclusive people are not approachable. So, data collected may be inadequate. Next is takes more time when samples are more. Next is systematic error may be acquired. Last is supervisors has to do a complex works of selecting, training, and supervising a field staff. So the other types of interview is a telephonic interview. So what is telephonic interview? So telephonic interview is contacting samples on telephones. Uncommon method may use in developed regions. So let's move on to the strength and the merit of telephonic interview. First is flexible compared to the mailing method. Faster than other methods, cheaper than personal interview method. Callbacks are simple and economical also. High response than mailing method. When it's not possible to contact the respondents directly, then interview is conducted through telephone. The next one is replies can be recorded without embarrassment of the respondents. Interviewer can explain requirements more easily. Next is no field staff is required. Next is wider distribution of samples is possible. Let's move on to the weaknesses or the demerits of telephonic interview. So first is little time is given to respondents. Survey is restricted to the respondents who have telephones. Not suitable for intensive survey where comprehensive answer is required. Bias information may be more. Next is difficult to make questionnaires because it should short and to the point. These are the other types of interview. First is a structured interview. In this case, a set of pre-decided questions are there. Next is unstructured interview. In this case, we don't follow a system of predetermined questions. Next is focus interview. Attention is focused on the given experience of the respondents and its possible effect. Next is clinical interviews. Concerned with the broad underlying feelings or motivation or with the course of individual life experience, rather than with the effect of a specific experience as a case of focus interview. The next one is group interview. A group of 6 to 8 individuals is interviewed. Next is qualitative and quantitative interview, divided on the basis of subject matter, whether it's qualitative or quantitative. Next is individual interview. Interviewer meets a single person and interviews him or her. Next is selection interview, done for the selections of people for certain jobs. That interview is deliberately aims to elicit consciousness as well as other types of materials relating especially to personality dynamic and motivation. Next one is questionnaires method. So this method of data collection is quite popular, particularly in the big inquiries. The questionnaires is mailed to the respondents who are expected to read and understand the questions and write down the reply in the space meant for the purpose of questionnaires itself. The respondents have to answer the questions by their own. Questionnaires method questionnaires is sent to the person with the request to answer the question and return the questionnaire questions are printed in definite order. Mailed samples who are expected to read that questions understand the questions and write down the answer in provided space.
Good day to everyone. I'm Catherine Gisunga and I will discuss the merits of questionnaire, demerits of questionnaire, main aspect of questionnaire, and the essential of good questionnaire. So the first one is merits of questionnaire. Merits of questionnaire: low-cost event, the geographical area is large to cover, answer in respondents' words so free from bias, adequate time to think for answer, non-approachable respondents may be conveniently contacted, large samples can be used so results are more reliable. The merits of questionnaire. The merits of questionnaire: low rate of return to delay, field questionnaire can be used when respondents is educated and cooperative. It is inflexible, omission of some question, difficult to know the expected respondent have filled the form or it is filled by someone else. Slowest method of data collection. So the third one is main aspect of questionnaire. Main aspect of questionnaire: general form and structured questionnaire, alternative yes or no type question are as easy to interpret the data but unuseful for the survey, which is aimed to prove for attitude and reason for certain action. Unstructured questionnaire, open-ended question. Respondents give answer in his own words on the bias of the pretest researcher. Can be decided about which type of questionnaire should be used. Question sequence. Question sequence should be clear and smoothly moving. Relation of one question to another should readily apparent. First question important for creating interest in respondents' mind. Question which gives stress on memory or of a personal character and wealth should be avoided as opening question. Easier should also be at the start of the questionnaire. General to specific question should be their sequence of questions. Question formulation and wording: question should easily understood. Questions should be simple and concrete. Closed question are easy to handle, but this is like fixing the answer in people's mouth. So depending upon problem for which survey is going on, both closed-ended and open-ended question may be asked in a questionnaire. Words having ambiguous meaning should be avoided. Catchwords, word with emotion connotation, danger words should be avoided also. So the last one is essential of good questionnaire. Essential of good questionnaire should be short and a simple question. Should arrange in a logical sequence from easy to difficult one. Technical terms should be avoided. Some control question which indicate reliability of the respondent. So question affecting the sentiments of the respondent should avoided. Adequate space for answer should be provided in questionnaire. Provision for uncertainty, do not know, no preference. Direction regarding the filing of questionnaire should be given physical appearance, and it is the quality of the paper and color. That's all. Thank you.
How to construct a questionnaire. Researchers should note the following with regards to these three main aspects of questionnaires. First is general form. Second is question sequence. Third, determine the type of the questions. We have A direct questions, B indirect questions, C open form questionnaires, D closed form questionnaires, and E dichotomous questions, and last is multiple choice questions or MCQ. Schedule method. It is one of the important method for the study of social problems. Schedules like questionnaires, but it filled by enumerators. Enumerators are especially a point for filling questionnaires. Enumerators explains the aim and objective to respondent to fill the answer in provided space. In the word of Thomas Carson McCormick, the schedule is nothing more than a list of questions which it seems necessary to test the hypothesis. Questionnaires versus schedule. Questionnaires generally sent through mail and no further assistance for sender, while schedule is filled by the enumerator or researcher's worker. Questionnaires is cheaper method, while schedule costly requires field workers, and questionnaires non-response is high, while schedule non-response is low. In questionnaire, it is not confirmed that the expected respondent has filled the answer. In schedule, identity of person is known. Questionnaire, very slow method. Schedule, information is collected well in time. Questionnaire, no person contact, while schedule, direct person contact. Questionnaire can be used only when respondent is educated and cooperative. Information, like schedule, information can collect from illiterate also. Questionnaire, wider distribution of sample is possible. Schedule, difficulty for wider area. Questionnaire, incomplete and wrong information is more. Schedule, relatively more correct and complete. Questionnaire, depend on quality of questionnaire. Schedule, depend in honesty and competence of enumerator. Questionnaire, physical appearance of questionnaire should attractive. Schedule, not necessary in schedule method. Questionnaire, observation method cannot use. Schedule, it is possible to use observation at the time of filling schedule by enumerator. Other method of data collection. Warranty card. Postcard, size cards sent to the customer and feedback collect through asking question on that card. Distributor or store audit. Audit are done by distributor or manufacturer, salesperson, observation or copying information about inventory and retailer shop. Useful method for knowing market share, market size, effect of the in-store promotions. Pantry audit. From the observation of pantry of customer to know for habit of the people or which product of the what brand, etc. Questions may be asked at the time of audit. Consumer panel. When the pantry audit is done at regular basis, they'll record the consumption of certain customers or repeatedly interview at specific period of the known their consumptions. Transitory consumer panel. For limited time, continuing consumer panel for identified period.
So next, we have the use of mechanical device eye cameras to record eyes focus on a certain sketch. Next one is psychogalvanometer, that is to measure the body excitement to visual stimulus. Next one is motion picture camera, that is to record movement of body and time of purchase. Next one is the audiometer concerned to TV, useful to know channel programs preference of people. Next one we have the depth interview to discover the underlying motives or desires of samples, to explore needs, feelings of respondents. Skills is required, and direct questions or projective techniques are used to know behavior of the respondent. Next one, we have the content analysis. So in here, analyzing contents of documentary material as newspapers, books, magazines about certain characteristics to identify and count. Next, we have the case study method. So under this, it is essentially an intensive investigations of particular unit under consideration. Its important characteristics are as follows. So letter A, the researcher can take one single social unit or more of such units for his study purpose. Letter B, the selected unit is studied intensively. For example, it is studied in a minute details. Next one is we have the survey method. Under this, one of the common methods of diagnosing and solving of social problems is that of undertaking surveys. Next one is Festinger and Cut of the opinion that many research problems require systematic collections of data from population through the use of personal interviews or order data gathering device. Next one, we have the panel method. In this method, data is collected from the same sample respondents at the same interval, either by email, by personal interview. Also, this is use of studies. So number one is the expenditure pattern. Number two is the consumer behavior. Number three is the effectiveness of advertising. Number four, voting behavior, and so on. So we still have here the secondary data, the sources of data, publications of central, state, and local government, technical and trade journals, books, magazine, newspapers, reports and publications of industry, and the bank stock exchanges. Second to the last is the reports by research scholars, universities, and the economists. And the last one is the public records. So we have here, next is the factor to be considered before using the secondary data. Under this is the reliability of data. Who, when, which methods, at the what, and what time. Next one is suitability of data. It is the object, scope, and nature of the original inquiry should be studied. As if the study was with different objective, then that data is not suitable for current study. The last one is adequacy of data. Level of accuracy. Areas, differences, then data is not adequate for the study. And the last one is the selection of proper method for collection of data. So under this, we have 4 components. First is the nature, scope, and object of the inquiry. Second one is availability of funds. The third one is the time factor, most especially. And the last one is the precision required.